If you've clicked on this video, it's because you would like some help to improve your leaps. And one thing I do want to say about leaps is that they are one of the more challenging things in piano technique. And it's a sure sign that you're getting more advanced if you have more leaps and if they're bigger and faster and they get harder and harder. Anyway, but the more advanced you get, the more challenging it gets. And sometimes it can be very frustrating because you can practice it over and over again and still miss it. And I certainly have experienced that myself, and it can lead to frustration. It can lead to overworking at the piano. You can practice and practice, and it can be taxing on your body. And some people end up feeling like they don't have talent when they aren't successful and they can't rely on their leaps. It can also lead to, if you're having problems with your position changes, it can also lead to memory slips if you're working without the music. So anyway, today I want to give you some ideas that can help you starting today to be more accurate with your leaps and help them to be easier to play, like physically require less effort to get across the keys, and help you move faster. So, well, there is one more thing I want to say, and that is I'm not going to cover everything today. I probably have 2 hours of material I could talk about with leaps, and I'm just going to spend a few minutes because you can't do everything all at once anyway. So let's just get to the basics. And first of all, I think the most important thing is to realize that when you have a leap, we tend to think about the note you're going to. The leap begins on the note before you move. And if you approach it that way, you can be much more successful. How many times has it happened, if you're a teacher, you watch your student play the end of a phrase and stop, and then all of a sudden they're going, oh, I'm supposed to be over here for the next phrase, and it's too late. But it also happens to advanced students too. We tend to sometimes think we're stopping and then moving, and that's what we don't want. We want to use the first note of the leap to propel us to the next note. Even if it's a held note, most of the time we have the pedal. We want to just get moving, don't stop. So anyway, so when you have a leap, and this can be a tiny leap, it can be a leap of a third or a leap of 2 octaves, use the first note to help you get to the second note. And I want to show you how how you can use this. And you can do this right now. If you have a table, that'd be fantastic. I actually would encourage you to not do it on the piano because when you use the piano, you have kind of habits of the way you interact with the piano. And I want you to sense this away from the piano first. You can also just do it on your lap if you're not with it at a table right now, but I'd like you to experience it. So I've got 2 little markers here, just so for a frame of reference. And you can go from one leg to the other leg, or you can, make a mark on a table, or just kind of eyeball it. But what I'd like you to do, well, let's just use one finger so we make sure that you are leaping and not just reaching. So if you're on this note and you want to go to this note, most people, I'd like you to just go back and forth from one leg to the other leg or across the table and just do this. And as you do that, you can use bigger amounts if you want to. And as you do that, if you kept going, you'd probably get some amount of fatigue. But I want to show you something that can make it a little bit easier. So when you're on this first one, when you're on the first note or the first location, I want you to give it a little oomph to kind of spring you over. And and you may notice that I'm less accurate now because I'm actually going further because it's easier to move. So what I'm saying is, if you use that first note or the first position to propel you over, then it can be easier and it can be more of a passive feeling in your arm so that you're less likely to get fatigued, because the upper arm can get fatigued fairly easily. So that's one trick. And oftentimes when I've worked with students on this, I compare it to a trampoline. When you're jumping on a trampoline and you want to move somewhere, you don't just keep going up and down, or you don't stop and then jump across. There's some keywords here, or you could think of rebounding, springing, you could think of vaulting. But the point is you're putting some kind of downward momentum that is springing you across. So that is like the most basic level of something that can help you. But the thing of it is, that's actually not very well known. And I didn't learn that until It was probably about 15 years after I had my master's degree in piano performance, and I went to a technique workshop and had some lessons. And I actually had 3 lessons that day with different teachers. And I kept hearing that word over and over again because truthfully, position changes are probably the most likely place where you're going to miss a note or have some kind of a pause, or that's some kind of a problem. It's most likely going to be at a position change. And so I heard that word over and over again, and it made a real impression on me. Now with time, you're going to get more and more accurate of getting that sense of how do I play this first note so that it will send me to the second note and I will arrive exactly where I need to be. Also, along with that, you need to arrive early. So if you're here and you're going to this note, arrive a little early so that you're touching the key, you control how fast you go down into the key, or in other words, how loud it is. You can control that sound, and you also have that sense of mastery that you know you're on it. Now, if you're doing this and you go past the note, you don't get to come back and fix it. If you're working in a piece and you go past the note, you're going to miss the note. So in speed and performance, you have to get to the point where it's automatic. You can even practice sometimes not looking, because you want to have that kinesthetic sense of where you are, what it feels like in your body, where you are in space, and master that. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Because you don't always have time to look at it anyway. And certainly when you've got the whole piece put together, you have other things that you're doing. You're not going to be able to micromanage and make adjustments as you go. You're going to be better off if you go automatically to the spot you want to go to. So I encourage you to practice that. I've got a few other tricks I want to show. I have to go somewhere right now. That's what my alarm was for. So I'll add to this a little bit later, and we'll see you in the next segment.